With the domestic season nearing the pointy end, Australia's batting picture looks no clearer. Welcome to Domesticated. I'm Justin Edwards. Fox Cricket's Nic Savage is alongside me. Nick, Jason Sanger, well done to him. He was the only century maker of the entire round. Have we got a bit of a batting crisis going on in Australia?
It was a low-scoring round, wasn't it? Most of the games wrapping up in 2 and a bit days. 200's become a par score. There's probably a few different factors in play, but I wouldn't call it a crisis at this stage, although there are probably a couple of slots on that test side up for grabs and no one's really taken an opportunity just yet.
It does feel like that. There was a chance in these matches for someone to grab a test spot. We've talked about how we think there's only 3 of the top 7 nailed in for those Bangladesh tests. So if someone goes with these 3 Shield rounds and got 300s, the selectors may as well have frisbeed a baggy green to them out on the pitch, but it doesn't seem to be happening for the batsmen at the moment.
To be fair, Sam Harper got a 90-odd to back up his 200s in the previous round, so he's looking superb. He probably wasn't really in test contention a few months ago, but after that big bash and this Shield form, he's put himself in the equation somewhat. But no, certainly it's been very low scoring, and a lot of the names that we've spoken about in the past. Jake Weatherald missed this round, which was obviously really poor timing for him as he's trying to fight for that test spot to keep it after the Ashes series. We're speaking to Curtis Patterson later. He has had a great summer, but didn't nail it this week either. So yeah, it just hasn't been. It's been a season for the bowlers, I suppose. The last few weeks has been very seam friendly, and even Mitch Swepson taking a 7 for in the One Day Cup recently as well. So just a chance for the bowlers to shine, I guess.
Yeah, the last few weeks especially, only 6 centuries since Christmas, since the Big Bash break. So that's 9 matches. 600s in 9 matches is. We expect more from that from our bowlers, from our batsmen. And I've done some more numbers. There have been 32 centuries so far this season, with a full round and the final, of course, to come. You compare that to last year. Last year's season finished with 50 hundreds. That was a lot. That was a lot considering the 3 seasons before were 44, 39 and 42. So around the 40 mark. I don't think we're going to get to the 40 mark this year. But then I had a look. Because everyone tells me, oh, the batsmen aren't the same as they were 20 years ago. So I had a look at the corresponding seasons 20 years ago. 05, 06, there were 55 centuries. 04, 05, 61. And 03, 04, 76. Now, I'm not in the camp of people who will tell you, oh, the batsmen were just so much better then. I'm not in that camp. And you tell me that all the bowlers are so much better now than they were back then. I don't believe that. But I think there is circumstances have been created where centuries are harder to get, which can be a good thing because you can put greater value on the century makers. But in terms of just actually grinding them out and having guys finish with 1,000 runs in a Shield season, it doesn't seem to be happening anymore. And I wonder whether that's a good thing, whether we've created an environment that's actually too difficult for the batsmen now, and it might be it might replicate better some test wickets that are finishing in 2 days in Australia. But we had an Ashes series where it was Smith, Head and Carey were the only ones that got hundreds. Yes, they won 4-1, but I wonder if the Shield system at the moment is just not quite where we need it to be. It's perhaps gone too far the other direction and is too helpful for bowlers.
I think you make an important point where the low scores have also translated to Test cricket. We've seen in the last 4 or 5 years a lot of short Test matches, low-scoring Test matches. The top 3 for Australia in that period have struggled consistently, with the exception of Travis Head this summer. And I suppose if you look at the conditions that have been presented, the big one is obviously the ball change. I think it was in 2021 that the Kookaburra added the extra layer of lacquer to the ball. There's a more pronounced seam. It's somewhat replicating the conditions we see in the UK a little bit more. We'll also now have pink ball Shield games back over the last couple of seasons, which obviously is going to have lower scoring, bowler-friendly conditions again. So I think it's actually a really good thing because it's starting to replicate what we see in the Test arena more, because it's low-scoring Test matches. The top 3 have been struggling. We want to see people in similar conditions working hard to get through that tough period and then hopefully translating the 20s and 30s into bigger scores. That's what the national selectors are looking for, and we just need a couple of players to do so and step up.
It is a good point you make with the conditions. I also think the new points format in the Sheffield Shield has an impact. It used to be that first innings points were so important. So teams, if the team batting first got 600, well, the team batting second just had to go out and get 601. Now, with the bonus point system, it's not quite as simple as that, but you are getting far more low totals. So 21 times this season, a team's been bowled out for under 180, right? And you compare that to only 9 times has there been a 400 plus score. I would think that should be a little closer to even. That's heavily in favour of the bowlers, especially being bowled out for 180. That's a poor score. And then you add that, Tasmania were bowled out for 91 in this round by Victoria, and Queensland were 6 for 44 against WA. They got saved by the rain. I wonder, it's the point system has done good things. It has made the games more exciting. But I think maybe on the pitches, some of the pitches we've seen, especially at the Gabba, have been these green seamers. And maybe we, going into South Africa in October and Bangladesh in August, we go to look ahead to the Ashes. Those wickets are flat now in England. Maybe we need, next summer, some flatter wickets might be a little better.
I think on the whole, the pitches across Australia have been okay, I think it's fair to say, but there have obviously been some glaring issues. At Shield level, there have been a couple of pitches that just haven't been up to scratch. And then obviously the MCG Boxing Day test, Matt Page and his team just got that wrong. Unfortunately, it happens. Everyone's allowed to make mistakes, just as cricketers make mistakes. Curators are allowed to occasionally make mistakes as well. I think you make a good point about the Ashes. They are not going to be spicy decks over in the UK. We know the Bazball formula now. It's been reported on to death. We know they're going to be flat wickets that aid batting.
And we saw where it fails is in Australia when the decks had a bit in them.
Spot on. So you make a fair point. Next summer is it the time to slightly shift it back in the other direction. We saw in the Shield a generation ago way too high scoring, perhaps. Was that the quality of the batting or the conditions? Probably a mix of both, I think it's fair to say. Maybe next summer a few of the curators need to slightly adjust their grass length, some of the soils, have a little think during the off-season about the best way to go about it, because it has been very low scoring and it's difficult for national selectors to kind of judge where the next crop of talent is coming.
One man that is scoring runs despite the difficult conditions is Sam Harper. He's moved to be the Sheffield Shield equal leading run scorer this season. Alongside Pete Hanscom, they got 640 runs each, 93 against Tasmania after his twin tons against WA. A year ago, if you said Sam Harper's in test contention, nonsense, right? You'd be laughed out of the room. But you look at him now, the spot that he's in is not dissimilar to where Jake Weatherald was a year ago. The Sheffield Shield leading run scorer, a couple of hundreds, moved up to opening and he's doing it in a similar way that Weatherald was, better than a run of ball. Is it ridiculous to say that Sam Harper is in test contention?
Not ridiculous at all. I mean, we even saw just this recent Ashes series, Josh Inglis was picked as a specialist batter, even though his primary skill is wicketkeeper. And there is that spot there. Weatherald hasn't performed this summer as the national selectors would have liked. There's every chance that he could take that role if the form continues. I guess the issue that's perhaps stopping him is Australia already has an aggressive swashbuckling opener in Travis Head. Do they want two people playing that same role? It's something we've spoken about before in regards to Jake Weatherald. Are they the best suit, Travis Head and Weatherald or Sam Harper? Or do they need someone who can soak up the pressure a bit more, a Khawaja-style player, a Renshaw-style player? I think back to Chris Rogers and David Warner as Australia's best opening partnership in a generation because they had that perfect correspondence with each other. They supported each other. One counter-punched, one could bat all day if needed. So that's the one thing maybe stopping Sam Harper, just the style of player that he is. But if you're scoring 100 every week, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, if you put so many runs on the board and make yourself irresistible, they'll find a way to fit you in. Nathan McKendrew's one that's been in wickets regularly for South Australia, and they're in contention for the final. 6 for 55 he got against New South Wales, and we said Harper is in a similar spot to Weatherald. I think McKendrew might be in a similar spot to where Brendan Doggett was a month ago, and he got 12 months ago. He got in the Test team. Could that be something for Nathan McKendrew in the future? I know there's a lot of depth in fast bowling, but they had to use them in the Ashes summer. I think they used 6 quicks again. So you do have to bat a little bit deeper when it comes to the quicks.
Well, think about how many fast bowlers have followed that same route as Doggett. Just recently it was Michael Neeson making his debut in his 30s. Scott Boland made his debut in his 30s. And at least the last couple of them played huge roles in that Ashes series. And they still could continue playing Test cricket for a couple of years. McKendrew, I don't have his age in front of me. He's got to be
32,
in
I think.
32. He's got plenty of years ahead of him. You think about it. So every chance that he could play a similar role to those guys. Someone, I think it was maybe Andrew McGlashan from Cricinfo, who compared him to Scott Boland. Consistently performing at domestic level, could be called upon at a horses for courses selection at any stage. We've spoken to death about all these test matches coming out for Australia. I think there's 20 tests in the space of about 10 months.
Yeah, they're going to need a lot of quicks.
fast bowling depth is going to be so important. And with all the young guys injured at the moment, Nathan McAndrew is putting forward a pretty good case.
And some of the old guys injured as well. Hazelwood, Cummins, they're going to need it. Let's touch on the actual Sheffield Shield. It's coming down to the last round for that second spot in the final. Victoria will be there. They'll be hosting it. It's going to be between South Australia and Queensland to see who meets them.
We mentioned before about Queensland. They dodged a bullet with the rain there. They were on the verge of a pretty heavy defeat, but they get that extra crucial point. Now I think it's actually all in South Australia's hands, because if they win this upcoming game against Victoria in Melbourne, that's tough, but if they win it, they're in that final. Pretty simple equation. But if they lose, or even draw the game against Victoria, that does open the door for Queensland, who can sneak above them if they get a bonus points victory in their game against Tasmania in Hobart. So we spoke of the bonus point system. They're going to have to be scoring runs quickly and taking wickets early in this upcoming game against Tasmania, because they need to do that and win and hope that South Australia trip at the final hurdle for them to get in that final. But it's all in the Redbacks' favour at the moment. They've got that lead on the ladder. We'll just have to wait and see what happens over the next week or so.
It is interesting for South Australia. It's sort of you beat the champ to earn the right to face the champ. They've got to beat Victoria in Victoria to earn the right to play Victoria in the final. It's a fascinating dynamic, and you could there's lots of themes and strings that you could pull on that in the lead up.
The major injury concern out of the first half, Will Schofield, was Harry Edwards, who copped a pretty strong bump in a good contest, and will take no further part. Luca Grego's into the action.
Well, I mean, it's lucky they're not playing next week, because they've already got Ruben Jimby out, Brendan Starcevic out, Brady Hoff out. So there's 3 starting key back 6. Harry Edwards looks like he'll probably go into concussion protocols. That's just a educated guess, but not a good sign for West Coast, given that they don't have a lot of depth there anyway.
Tried to stay out there originally, but you could see just the way he was shaking his head. He was a bit dazed after that big hit, and Luca Grego took a nasty fall of his own in that second quarter as well.